Hi, my name is Lillian, and because of the calls I have been getting, I didn't realize that people are watching my videos a lot, and that they had some questions, and some of the questions they had while talking to me, I realized that I needed to come and do another video about the shelter. I wanted to just clear some things about domestic shelters here in the United States. I know some of you already know about domestic shelters here in the United States, but believe it or not, there are those who don't know. They don't know how it is. They are questions about it. They have seen movies. They have been told by friends. So they really don't know. So I'm going to address this here today. And before I address it, I want you to know that this is informational. If you really need to get information, you really need to call the 1-800 hotline. You just National Domestic Hotline. Just call that number. You can Google it and find more information. So my information here, I'm giving you based on my experience and based on the experience of the women that I have talked to here in the United States. And this one, my experience is that one of an immigrant. So people who are not immigrants may experience different, have different stories or different experiences in the shelter. But I wanted to first tell you about the domestic shelters here in the United States. So there's domestic violence shelters, which are made for women. I'm sure there are some for men, but these are made to protect women who are being abused or being by abuse. That means your husband is physically abusing you or even emotionally abusing you, because sometimes people think that emotional abuse is not abuse. So I want to make sure you understand that emotional abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. So if you're going through emotional abuse, you can also seek help. And the shelter is important. I know many people think that they can just get help by going into the shelters. I also want to let you know that a lot of shelters offer outreach services. These are services that are that you don't have to be in the shelter to do that. So find out, like, they have support groups, they have counseling that they can do. So if you're not able to go at the shelter, if you're still working on a plan of exit, which is a plan to leave your ex, but you're still not sure, you can call still the hotline numbers. It doesn't mean it's hot. It just means that it's a number that's for emergency, and you can call them and they can do an intake, ask you questions about what's going on, and try and help you. In emergency situations, you can call the police or you can call those shelters. Do not be scared of calling the shelters. They're not gonna bite you. They're not gonna stereotype you. They're not gonna tell you, why have you called 20 times? Or they might ask you questions that may be uncomfortable, but just know that they're asking those questions so that you can get help. So the shelter is not a homeless shelter. These are places that are made they are very private places. They are not, it's not the same office that you've gone before to donate stuff. They are normally isolated. They don't let the women tell anybody where they are. So a lot of men will tell you, I know where it is. Do not worry about what they're saying. All you need to do is know that there's a place that is safe, that they can help you without your ex or your husband who is abusing you knowing. They are not going to call your husband to let him know you're there, so you shouldn't be scared. Okay, so the shelter is private and there's a lot of confidentiality. That means if you call them and they even see your number and they have to call you back, they'll have to ask you if they can call you back on that number. And if they can't call you back on that number, they will tell you. And a lot of their numbers, when they call you, it's not going to show because they need privacy, and they don't want your abuser locating you. So that is a good information to know. Okay. And also know that they're not going to follow you and look for you just because you called them, like 911, you hang up and then now they'll be calling you. They're not going to do that. They are very private. You have to seek help there for them to help you. They're not going to help you if you don't seek them out. They're not going to come there and try and force you out of your husband's house. You have to go through an intake, and they have to see if it fits you. Because a lot of women, sometimes they are not ready to leave the domestic abuse situation. You know, sometimes you fought with you've had a fight with your husband that day, and you're mad at him, but you actually don't want to leave. So a lot of women, when you call the domestic help, they will actually ask you a lot of questions to make sure that you really want to leave, and if that place is a good place for you, or if you really want to leave, they'll definitely help you to leave. But if you're not ready to leave, they'll also they'll tell you what to do. But do not be scared, even if you're just not getting ready to learn. You don't know what to do. You can call them and they can see. To me, I always advise the women to kind of start with the counseling, you know, to kind of help them figure out whether it's what they want to do. Okay. Now, another thing I want you to know, that the shelter will not tell anybody your story. They're not gonna know. Your ex or husband cannot call them to find out what you said there, or what happened there, or what did you tell them. They're not gonna do that. So that is one place that you can trust that your story is not gonna go anywhere. Okay. Now, another question that a lot of the women have called and wanting to go to the shelter have called to ask me is if their kids will be taken care of. In this country, one of the things people do best is taking care of the kids. They will make sure if your kids is in school, if the school is in that area, they can still attend the same school. There'll be buses or cars, or they'll make sure your kid is in school. If they have to switch schools, they'll make sure that your kid is registered. Now, by this I mean, you do not expect them to do the work. You know, if you're ready to leave your ex, you have to be ready to leave the ex. A lot of women think that if they go to the shelter, the caseworkers have to do the work for them. Everybody has to work for them except themselves. All I have to go in the shelter is sit there and cry and feel sorry for myself. They're not going to let you do that. When you go to the shelter, you have to be ready to do some work. What work will you be able to do? You'll have to be able to fill up forms. You know, a lot of people don't want to fill those forms up. So many questions are very intrusive. So many questions are very, they're asking you things that you don't want to answer, uncomfortable questions. They'll also ask you to go and do certain things. Go and register your kid in school. They give you a number to a lawyer. Call the lawyer. They'll ask you, hey, you need to go call this, make sure your kids have insurance, or have you applied for food stamps? Have you applied? A lot of people think that when they go to the shelter, they're just going to go and sit there and everything will be done for them. No, not everything is going to be done for you. Okay. So you have to do those things yourself also. You have to do some work, and another thing is that will they take care of my divorce? I mean, you're not going to go to the shelter and immediately they file for divorce. You have to go through an intake. They have to know if you really want divorce, because they're not going to tell you, oh, since you came to the shelter, you have to apply for divorce. No. They don't force you to do anything you don't want to do. And you have to go through counseling. They'll figure out whether you want divorce, whether you don't want divorce. Because a lot of women, let me tell you, I've sent women to the shelter and 3 days later, they want to go back to their ex. So a lot of times they go to the shelter. Even me, I did this 30 years ago. It's like you go and then you're like, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Then they go to the shelter and then they don't like how it looks. The shelter is not your home. It's not your bed. The bed is not going to be yours. It's different. You're going to share a room with somebody. Your kids are going to play with other kids. You're not going to find the people you want to be around. So sometimes you go to the shelter, you get uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, I don't like here. These kids are rude, or these people are not my class, or these people are homeless, or this. You are homeless, girl. If you are in the shelter, you are homeless, okay? If your husband has kicked you out, or if you don't have a place to go, you are homeless. You need to understand that. So stop judging people. Some people judge. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to go to the shelter. You'll have to mix with the people of... No. When you need help, they have a saying an African saying is, I'm going to say it in Swahili, mtaka shamvunguni sharti ainame. That means if you want something from under the bed, you have to bend. You have to go down in order to get that thing that you want. Okay? So a lot of people think that they just have to go to the shelter, sit there. They don't have to clean up. They don't have to make their bed. If they're told to make their bed, oh, they're giving me chores. They're making me work. They're making me do stuff. Now listen, when you go to the shelter, remember you will have to do some work. And that is one thing that will tell the shelter whether you really want to be there. A lot of women, and I stopped telling women to go to the shelter as soon as they call me. Because a lot of women, they are not ready to be at the shelter. When you send a woman who is not ready to go to the shelter, as soon as they get there, when they're told to fill up some forms, they don't want to fill it. When they're told they have to go and call Catholic Charities, they're like, why can't the caseworker call Catholic Charities? When they're told to do something, they won't do it simply because they don't feel like they should do anything. They feel like people should let them sit in the shelter and feel sorry for themselves. You have to do the work. You have to apply for those services. Nothing comes easy. And that there always sends most women back. They go back to relying on their ex who's beating them up because they don't want to do any work. You have to do some work. Now, another question women had, will the shelter help me with my green card? Man, if green card is all you want and that's why you're going to the shelter, you might not get it. And I'm telling you that because the shelter is for domestic violence. Yes, if you're being abused, they will direct you to a lawyer who will then give you advice on what to do. You can file for VIAWA, Violence Against Women's Act. That means if your ex has a green card or it has a citizenship, you can file without them, but that you'll have to prove that you are being abused and that marriage was illegal and good standing. So you need to remember that. And if you don't have a green card, you have to remember that you might be in a shelter for so long. Shelter is only for 3 months. So if you're going for 3 months, you might have to find a place to go once you get there. If you don't have green card, if you have green card or work permit, or you are a U.S. citizen, they can help you get housing, temporary housing, to help you start your life over. But if you don't have green card, that's a different thing. That means you'll have to they'll have to file. The shelter is not going to file for green card. And I have to say this correctly because I remember when I used to talk to the women, I used to say the shelter will help you get green card. I have women who've told me, you told me the shelter will get you green card. Oh my God, I should have stated my stuff correctly and good. They'll help you by directing you to a lawyer, which could be Catholic Charities. And the sad thing about this, believe it or not, women, is that a lot of women, when they're told Catholic Charities, they have people who will tell them, those lawyers are not good. They are free. They are pro bono. I have had women tell me that the problem is the shelter gave me a pro bono lawyer, and a pro bono lawyer is not a good lawyer. What do you mean a pro bono lawyer is not? You are in the shelter. You are homeless. You have nowhere to go. and you're being choosy. You're being a choosy beggar. You're saying, I don't want to use a pro bono lawyer. They will not help me. Let me tell you, those pro bono lawyers, some of them are very high standing lawyers. Most of them are lawyers that just want to help. Part of their money is used to help people like you. And then also we have lawyers who, pro bono lawyers are not bad lawyers. They're not, if a lawyer is even still working another lawyer, it's still okay. So stop judging. A lot of people have missed their blessing because they start saying, I do not want to use a pro bono lawyer. So you'd rather go and pay $10,000 to file for this, and yet you don't have money, you don't have green card. My thing is, do what they tell you. If they tell you go to Catholic Charities, go to Catholic Charities, and they will help you. Stop trying to be judgmental. Stop listening to relatives who have green card and who have citizenship, who are telling you or who are judging you based on their own experience. Each experience is different. My experience is different. But if you go there and you ask questions, who knows? There are people who've got green card, and some people tell you it'll take forever. So you want to sit there and wait for forever without starting something. You have to start something while forever comes closer instead of forever staying far away up there. So you need to start your thing. Well, they'll advise you to get a lawyer, and the lawyer might direct you to Catholic Charities. They'll tell you to call Catholic Charities yourself, and that might be hard because sometimes you call them, they're helping 101 people. Oh, I don't want to call that number. They're taking too long. I've had all those things. And me, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm telling you, do what you're told to do. Give it a start. Nobody will help you if you do not help yourself. And that is how they know that you're ready. I know nowadays, many of the women that have called me of late, I've not even sent them to the shelter because I can already tell that she's gonna go to the shelter and she's really gonna leave because she's already feeling like she's special. We have choosy beggars for real. So green card, they can help you, but they're not gonna help you get green card. They're gonna send you to a lawyer and Catholic Charities or any organization that can help you. Now another thing people ask is the shelter is dirty. Somebody asked me that question. Oh my God, I hear the shelter is dirty and there's homeless people in the shelter. So you're judging, and you're judging that there are homeless people in the shelter. You can't go in the shelter. Let me tell you, I was in the shelter myself. Yeah, it is. I'm not gonna judge. There's lawyers in the shelter. There's doctors in the shelter. There's homeless people in the shelter. And when you go to the shelter, everybody. There's rules in the shelter. It's like there's rules in the shelter. I was in the shelter that I went to. I shared a room, but then my roommate left, and then it was me and my child, and then later on it was just me. And in the evenings we would eat, we would clean up, everybody had a chore. Some people would be mopping or whatever, but it was fun. Of course there are people who are not the same as you. You'll find that if you're a Muslim, you'll be around Christians. You're a Christian, you'll be around Muslims. If you're homeless, you'll be around a lawyer will be around, it's different. Do not be judgmental, but there's rules. It doesn't mean that when you go there, you're going to be sleeping all over. I've seen movies where they show people sleeping in bunk beds you're thinking about boarding school where everybody in Kenya, there's one long hall and there's 20 beds. It's not like that. They still have to have certain standards in order for you to fit in there. It was for me, my child always used to stay. We lived in a hotel. It was okay. Of course, there are people who who you just have to go there and mind your business. Don't go there and start bringing problems, of course. And if you go there and some people say, oh, I went to the shelter and I was kicked out, you have to follow rules. Do not tell people where the shelter is. They give you rules like you have to come back by 6, or they give you rules like do not tell the abuser where you are. Some people do that and they're kicked out. Oh, they kicked me out, or they didn't help me, or I came there 5 minutes late. It's a rule. 5 minutes late is late. You can be kicked out. Don't blame anybody but yourself. That's all I'm telling you right now. Okay, so yeah, the possibility of sharing a room is there, but let me tell you, if you're truly being abused, the shelter will be many women have got help because it's a better place than being where they are. You're being abused, you're being beaten, or you're being called names and all those things. You're better off now. It's not a hotel, but it could be like a hotel if you make it. You can be in a high standard hotel and still feel uncomfortable, or you can be in a very bad hotel but feel very comfortable. Let me tell you, it's how you feel. Have you heard the story of a poor man who was sleeping out on the streets, and there was a rich guy in a hotel? He looked downstairs and he told his worker, go and bring that guy, put him in a room and let him sleep in one of the best rooms. The next day, the beggar, he enjoyed himself, but later on, when he was asked, he said, man, I was happy down there because I was dreaming that I was in the bed. I was very comfortable. So it depends where you want to feel comfortable, where you feel good at. It doesn't matter. But if you want to feel like the shelter is a hard rock, you'll feel like a hard rock out there. Expectations. There's a lot of expectations when people go in the shelter. They want to call the shelter. They want to ask them, will you get me green card? Will I do this? They want guarantee as soon as they make that call. They do not have to guarantee you anything when you make that call. They don't have to tell you, I'm going to make your green card. If you really want help, and all you care about, are you really going to help me with green card? You're calling, oh, I'm being in a domestic abuse. Okay, will you guys give me green card? Will you guys? No. Get out of the abuse. The emergency line, when you call, their most important thing is to get you out of your abuse. That is what is important for them. That is more important to them than anything else. So get out of the abuse. Find out their services once they get there. Do not get sieved out before you get in. You find out about what they help with once they get in there. And all shelters are different. I can't say they are all the same, okay? So expectation of what you want. So my advice to you before I finish this video, and please subscribe. If you can subscribe and share this video with a friend who is going through domestic violence. My advice to you is that you can call the domestic hotline, and you can just type domestic shelter in your area and you will get help. And once you get help, once you call them, if you really need to call 911, call 911. If you need to call the shelter so that they can if you need to get out of the situation, they will get you out of the situation. Do not be scared of calling that 911. Do not expect too much from them as soon as you get there. Things take time. Your caseworker may not come immediately that same day. They may not guarantee what you want at that time. But follow what they tell you. Listen to what they're telling you. These people have done this for years, so they know their experience. They're learned in it. They have counselors. They know what they're doing. Trust in the process, and everything will be okay. I hope this helps somebody, because I really do not want people to miss the chance of going to the shelter, because people are telling them that it is dirty. The shelter is not a dirty place. How would they house anybody in a dirty place in this country? How can they be allowed to do that? It's only women. If it's a women's shelter for domestic violence, they try to make your life, everything comfortable. They try to give your kid toys. They'll give you clothes if you had to go without clothes. It might not be clothes from dealers like you're used to. They'll give you toys. It might be not be toys from Toys R Us, might be from the dollar store, but you never know. You also get toys from Toys R Us, or you'll get used toys. You just have to lower down your expectation. Do not expect the whole world when you go there. And expect not to eat the same food that you've been eating. They're not going to be serving you steak. You could be eating sandwiches. Be okay with what you get. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And to me, I believe the shelter is still a better place than going to a relative's place, because at least they can help you. Know that the process is long, and once you get there, if you just really decide to go to the shelter, the process could be very long, and be ready for that process to be long. But they will help you through it if you keep up with what they want. I hope this helps somebody. Please subscribe. You guys have a good day, and God bless you.